Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Courtney Pelzer. I am from the Career Center, and today we're going to be kind of tell you guys about how to craft your resume and giving you guys a few tips on cover letters as well. So we're going to get started in just a few. I'm going to share my screen. Jumping in again. All right, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for the resume and cover letter writing session here. My name is Courtney Poser. I am a graduate assistant at the Career Center, and today we're just going to be talking a little bit about resumes and cover letter writing, and kind of give you guys at the end some services that we offer for you guys. So jumping right in, we're going to be talking about resumes, why you need one, why they're important, and how to kind of craft and tailor your resume for the best fit for whatever position you're applying for, whether it's a job, internship, or co-op. So what are resumes? Resumes are a summary of your qualifications. They tell an employer some kind of background information about you. So it lets them know your education, your experiences, your skills, and how well you qualify for the job. So a resume is needed to kind of connect those skills that you have, those knowledge and abilities to your relevant experience. And it kind of gives a glimpse of how you would fit in the job and what you can bring to the table. So that's why employers kind of use them to kind of gauge who will be the best fit for the position. How to make your resume stand out. So the most important thing on your resume is the content. That is what employers are going to be looking at the most, your bullet points, your skills and your experiences, and how long you've been in those experiences and what you actually did. So what were your roles, your responsibilities, the tasks, and the accomplishments that you have done in those different roles. So the resume content should wow the viewer or the employer who will be looking at your content. It should describe the ability of the candidates and how well, again, you'll be successful in that position or that role. So the overall design should be pretty simple for the reader to read, easy to navigate and facilitate whatever they need to kind of find. If they need to look at your education, they can find it in one place. Your experiences should be in one place, and it should read and flow from top to bottom very easily. And it also should have a professionalism to it. So your resume shouldn't have any errors. It should be kind of corrected for grammar and convey that professionalism. So when you're making your resume, making sure you're checking over for those errors, any spelling, grammar, and anything like that. So that way, when you are submitting your application things and your resume, it stands out to the employer and it's kind of representing you in the best way possible. Because again, this is kind of giving the employer a glimpse and a glam shot of like what you can bring to the organization and to the table. So you want to kind of make sure that whatever materials that you're putting in or submitting as far as your application represents your brand. So just a little bit of resume basics. Your resume should be 1 page in length. We typically say that for students who are in undergrad, it should be one page in length. If you are in graduate school or in medical school or any professional school, you may have a resume that's 2 pages, but if it is going to be 2 pages, you want it to be 2 full pages and not like just a page and a half or just a page and a quarter. But typically, if you are an undergraduate student, we say 1 page in length is sufficient. You definitely want your resume to be in Times New Roman or Arial fonts, a clear font that's going to be easy to read. You don't want to have any fonts that's like cursive or like really big and bulky. Something that is going to be clear and kind of standard. And your size font could be from 10 to 12, as low as 10 to 12, depending on how you want to format that resume and how you're kind of putting it on the page, but no more than 10 to 12 fonts. You definitely want to use consistent formatting again. So from top to bottom, making sure everything looks cut clean. If you're bolding certain things or certain headers, you make sure that's consistent throughout the whole entire resume. Don't just bold a title here, like your education section, and then you don't have your bolding for your experience section or your skills section or any other section that you may include. Make sure it's all consistent. If you're italicizing your position title, make sure all your position titles are italicized, and so on and so forth. And your margins, as far as your margins, they can be set as low as 1/2 inch or as high as 1 inch. Typically, if you want to kind of fill up the page, if you don't have a lot of information, that 1/2 inch will be pretty good because, again, you want to get it to at least 1 page, and 1 full page will look great. And it kind of helps you to not have as much white space or just kind of areas where anything is not filled in. Now we're going to get into some of the sections of the resume, and I'm going to go through all of these and kind of break down some tips and tricks for those. And at the end, we will have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you'll be able to put them in the chat, and I'll be able to answer them towards the end of the presentation. When we do kind of transition to the cover letter piece, I'll pause then as well if you have any questions for that. So as far as the sections to include on your resume, you definitely want to have your name and your contact information. That's very important. Your education section, which is a full summary of your degree or the degree that you will attain upon graduation, your work history or your experience, basically all your relevant experience that you should include, anything that you have done in the past as far as like a job or internship or any leadership experiences that you may have will go under that section. Activities and involvement, such as your clubs, organizations, volunteer work, other activities that you may be doing around school, any community service type of projects that you may have done will go into the activities and or involvement section. Your leadership section, this could be any leadership position. It's very similar to the activities and involvement. Usually sometimes students will combine these two and have it as campus involvement or leadership experience. And then you'll also have your skills section, which just kind of talks about your technical skills and kind of language proficiencies or any certifications and other things that you may have. And again, I'm going to go through a little bit more in depth on each of these sections. From other sections that you might include, additional experience, research, if you have done research or if you're involved in research, any related coursework. So if you are taking courses, say, for example, if you're a marketing major and you have taken Marketing 101 or any specific like social media engagement, and you think that's going to be something that the employer will feel like is going to make you stand out or kind of showcase your knowledge, you can put the relevant coursework that you have done. Any presentations you have done as well. So if you presented at a conference or presented a important project or semester project in a capstone course, you can include that as well. Again, community service or volunteer work, any special awards that you may have received, specific honors from the college, any other specific important scholarships that you feel will be relevant to the board or will feel that makes you stand out. And also a professional association. So if you are part of maybe an organization on campus that has more of a professional standpoint from it. So if you're provide, for example, the Future Business Leaders of America, that could be something that you can include under that as well too. So here is a sample of a resume right here. This is just a general sample. In the presentation, I'm going to share a link with you guys to our student toolbox, which has other templates that you guys can use. Some of them are major specific or industry specific, but this is a very general one. As far as your template and how you want to format your resume is really up to your discretion. The biggest things that you want to have again on there are the things that we talked about earlier in the presentation of what to include. So as far as your education section, your experiences section, your skills, activities, also making sure you have that contact information at the top. Those are the most important things to have no matter what template that you use. So specifically with this example, at the top of the page, you have the person's name. So Ronald resume, their contact information. So they have their email and then their phone number. For this one, they do have the address, the current and permanent address. If you want to include your address, that's totally up to you. Typically, if employers do want to get in contact with you, they're either going to email you or just give you a call. They probably won't mail you anything. So you can leave that off, and that can be a little bit of space that you can kind of save to put other information to make sure you're getting it to a page and not going over a page. So if you don't want to use the address or keep the address off, again, that's totally fine. This is just an example. And it's really up to your discretion on whether you're going to choose to include the address. But the most important things that you definitely want to have is your first and last name, your email address, and then a phone number that they can contact you at. So as far as the education section here, you can see they have the name of the institution, their major, and some other information. So as far as their GPA and study abroad, again, relevant coursework, like I talked about before, that you can include if you feel like it's going to be relevant. You don't want to just include coursework or all your coursework that you ever taken during your time here at the university. You want to pull out those specific coursework or specific things that you have done that's going to be relevant to whatever the position description is describing or is asking for. the relevant experience section, the additional experience, and then here they have activities and skills. So in the next few slides, it's going to break down a little bit more of each of these sections. So the best practice for your resume, you should always focus on your transferable skills. We're going to talk a little bit more about this as well. And transferable skills are basically what the definition says. They're skills that are transferable. So these are skills where you can use them in whatever position you're in or any position that you're in, no matter what the industry is or the field or the title of the position. These are things similar to like teamwork, where whatever position you're in, if you're in a student leadership position, if you're in a internship position, you're going to be using teamwork. So that's what I mean by transferable skills. And those are things that you're going to showcase in like that experience section. So more examples: teamwork, communication, customer service, management, efficiency, organization, and critical thinking skills. These are what we call transferable skills or soft skills. Again, skills that you can use in no matter what situation or position that you're in. So these are things that the employer is really looking for when they're looking at your resume. So with writing descriptive bullet points, in that experience section, again, it's very, very important to kind of list out those soft skills or those transferable skills to present how well you'll fit within whatever your position that you're applying for. So the best way to do that is to look at a job description and kind of ask and kind of assess what duties and responsibilities that you have. So if they're looking for someone who's good with teamwork, if they're looking for someone who is a leader, kind of showcasing that within your descriptive bullet points is what the employer is going to be trying to pick out. So we're going to kind of go into how do I write a descriptive bullet point. So as far as your descriptive bullet points, you want to start off with the action verb, the skill, or whatever you've done within that position, the task, the responsibility, or the role, and then you'll have a quantifier, which is the descriptive bullet point. So a quantifier could be something that kind of showcases the amount of times you've done something or how many people that you work with within that specific bullet point. So what I mean by that, if you are doing something monthly, if you're doing something daily, if you work with a group of students, or if you're working with a group of coworkers or on a team, you'll say like specifically work with a group of 20 students or 12 students or a group of coworkers of 20 or on a team of 20, something along that lines. So your action verbs are things that's going to start off like your task. So those are things like helped or provided, facilitated, created, things like that nature. And then your skill and your task, again, is kind of showcasing what you actually did. What did you do? So these are just some examples of action verbs and transferable skills. And I think in these next few slides, it will kind of break down how to kind of format that further. So this is a good list to have. And again, when I do provide you guys with that student toolbox link, there'll be a resume packet that has all of this information in it. It kind of goes a little bit deeper and further in resume and cover letter formatting. And it'll have this, the sample resume, a sample of this list, as well as a sample of the cover letter. So this list is very, very great to have when you are creating those descriptive bullet points, because it kind of gives you a variety. You're not kind of sounding like monolithic, saying the same thing over and over. So you're not saying help, 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 or create it. You're kind of using different language to kind of showcase your skills and making sure that it's keeping the reader's attention. So again, with writing those descriptive bullet points, you want to start off with a strong action verb. So some more examples: assisted, coordinated, improved. Never begin with an I statement. So you never want to say I did this or that, or I did this. So you want to kind of showcase what you did, but don't say like I. When you are describing your task, you're describing your accomplishments. So your descriptive bullet points should not only just state what you did, but how you accomplished them or why you did something. So that way it doesn't seem like you're just put in a role and you're just doing tasks and just doing things or just accomplishing things, but you're not giving like a backstory of why. So just kind of make sure you're kind of looking at that. You don't want to focus on the organization's accomplishments in itself. You kind of want to focus on what you did in the role and how you brought value to the role and why it mattered. And also kind of being concise and clear. So you don't want to create a paragraph when you're writing a bullet point. It should be 1 or 2 lines for that one single bullet point, and it's going to be one complete sentence. And again, quantifying where possible. So if you're doing things monthly, weekly, or making sure you kind of, if you increase something, I increased it by 20%, or if you decrease like the time that it took something, decrease the time that it took by 20%, increase efficiency by 30%. That's what I mean by quantifiers. And definitely include those technical skills that you gain within that bullet point. So if you are working with specific machinery or software or any kind of technology, social media or anything like that, kind of putting that in the bullet point itself as well too, to kind of enhance it as well. So these are some examples of rewriting your bullet points or your descriptions. And then again, it's going to be another slide where it kind of showcases more in depth, and we're going to look at those examples in the slide. So for example, on this before page, on the left side, it has assisted with inventory, but afterwards it has assisted with daily and monthly inventory of over 1,200 domestic and foreign products. So as you can see, before it just kind of lists what they did, but it doesn't really kind of give a backstory of why, or why was a significant thing that they were doing, and why, you know, it will be important to the job or the position that they're applying to. But now when we look at the afterwards, it has the action verb assisted, and then it has some quantifiers, the daily and the monthly, the 1,200, and it tells what type of inventory they were dealing with, domestic and foreign products. And another way, again, you can kind of showcase your value with this in your descriptive bullet points and saying assisted with daily and monthly inventory of over 1,200 domestic and foreign products. You can say to increase efficiency or to decrease the workload. You can kind of add in things of that nature. So for the next one, provided quality customer service. Provided quality customer service by handling customer questions, complaints, and problem solving. So not just saying that I provided customer service, but this is the kinds of customer service that I provided, and this is what I handled with that customer service. Their questions, their complaints, and problem solving. And as you can see, it has a little bit of those soft skills. So problem solving, these are things that you can utilize, or skills you can have in whatever position that you're in. So even if you're in a student leadership position, you're probably going to need problem solving skills. When you graduate and get your first entry level job, you're going to need problem solving skills, things that are skills that you can transfer no matter what position you're in. So keep those in mind again. Checked out customers, handled over 200 cash and credit transactions, balanced drawer and ATM accurately as part of each shift. So as you can see, they quantified $200. And instead of check, they said it handled over. And then it also tells what type of checking out they were doing, or what they were doing in the process. So it was the cash and credit transactions. And they also balanced the drawer, the ATM, and they did it to make sure things were accurate each shift. So every day, it was daily. It was something they were doing daily. So making sure you have those things. So again, with the descriptive bullet points, you want to have that action verb, the task, and the skill, and then you want to quantify it. And again, bring it in back to why it matters. So kind of showcasing your value, or what you did, why you did matter to the organization, and kind of helping that to showcase the employer why you would be valuable for the position that they're looking for. So bringing it back again to the resume sample, as you can see in here, it has the related experiences. And with this, they have the title of the organization that they work for, the location of that organization, their position title, as well as the start and end date between those positions. So when they started and when they ended. If you're currently still in position, you can say current or present. And they have the information as far as the bullet points that we were talking about. For bullet points, we typically say to list about 3 to 5 of those under each of your experiences. And your resume should also be in reverse chronological order, meaning that your most recent experiences should be at the top. and then you'll have your like past experiences towards the bottom within that section. And going back in that education section, again, you're going to have the name of the university, the location of the university, your degree title. So you don't want to just put your major. I know sometimes students will typically do that. So for example, in undergrad, I was a marketing and management major, but my actual degree title was a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. So instead of just putting marketing and management, I would actually put Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and then I could put major marketing and management and put their minor. And then you want to put your expected graduation date. Another thing that students typically do within the education section, they'll have the start date, like from their freshman year to their senior year, but you only want to put the expected graduation date. So if your graduation date is May 2022, you're going to put May 2022. And they also have the information of study abroad. So if you've done any study abroad, you'll put that under the education section as well. The relevant coursework, as we talked about before, and then some additional experience. And they have it formatted typically the same way you would format the relevant experience. And that's how it will look on the resume once you create those bullet points and then put them in those sections. So right now I'm going to pause here. And bring it back. If anyone has any questions as far as what we talked about so far, put it in the chat and I'll be glad to answer them. All right. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes just in case anyone has a question before we move on. Okay, so we have a few questions coming in. Okay, this question said, should we make multiple questions for applying to different jobs? I'm assuming you mean different resumes. And as far as different resumes, you definitely want to tailor your resume to whatever position that you're applying for. So if you are, when you're applying, making sure you're looking at those position descriptions and what they're asking for. Typically, what you can do is have a master resume, which is going to have all the experiences that you have done throughout your college career. And you'll have it in a master resume. And then when you look at different positions, you can kind of see what they're looking for. So if they're looking for someone who has experience in marketing or someone who has experience in a STEM field or engineering, then you can go to your master resume and pick out those experiences that best match that position description and kind of to tailor it that way. Typically, you can have just like a general one that you kind of can keep if you are only applying to like specific types of positions. So if you're only applying to positions in one industry or one field, then you can typically have this, just that general resume that you can use for each one. But if you're going to be applying to different types of positions, that's going to have different responsibilities and different tasks, and you definitely want to kind of tailor your resume that way. And again, you can do that by having a master resume that has an encompass of all your experiences that you have done. And then you can go in and kind of take out which ones are best fit for that position that you're applying for. And another thing I want to mention as far as like experiences and when you're listing your experiences, typically what we tell students, any high school information that you have, you want to kind of steer away from that and kind of focus on what you're typically doing in the present or the most recent things. So as far as a college student, you want to typically list experiences that you have done while in college. So another question we have, are there any keywords I should incorporate into my resume that will help me to stand out? The keywords that you want to incorporate is going to be, again, listed on those position descriptions. So whatever the company or the organization is looking for, what they're hiring for, and looking at those, again, the responsibilities and the duties that you'll have in that role, that's how you want to tailor that position or that resume. So if they have a sentence that says we'll be responsible for 20 other coworkers or have to lead presentations, then you want to pick out experiences where you work with people or you led a presentation or you had that type of experience. And that's how you can kind of stand out and make sure you're touching on those keywords. And we definitely will be going over cover letters a bit more. The first half is about resumes, and that's why I wanted to pause just to see if we had any questions about resume before we move to the next section, which will be cover letters. Max said, should we only be including experiences on our resume that are relevant to our field of study? Again, you want to look at the position that you're applying for. Personally, for me, I was a marketing and management major in undergrad, but I didn't have a lot of marketing and management experience because like what I wanted to do wasn't that. Like what I'm in now is student affairs. So my positions kind of lead into like my leadership positions that I had in undergrad. So I kind of use those. So when you're including in your experiences, again, you just kind of want to focus on whatever you think is going to be or is going to apply the most to that job. So if you are someone who is looking at positions that kind of match your whatever you're studying within college, then you're going to put that on there. If not, then you can choose other experiences. And again, going back to those transferable skills and those experiences, it really doesn't matter like what the experience is. They're looking at those, like what you did with an experience and how you can kind of transfer that to the position. So even if you were a waitress, you have skills that you develop within that position that can be applied to any position, no matter if it's just in another waitress position, if it's just in a student leader position, or if it's in a corporate setting. Like if you are working with others, if you're a people person, if you had to problem solve, if you had to create different things for social media, like it doesn't matter what position that was in, they're looking at the relevant skills that you have and how whatever you did within that position can be applied to what you're doing now or what you want to do within that position, if that makes sense. Great question. These are all great questions. And I'm just going to give it about 10 more seconds, and then we'll jump right back into the second half of the presentation on cover letters. But if anyone else had any more questions, just definitely drop them in the chat. Okay. All right, so now we're going to move into cover letters and how you can format those. And just a good tip within cover letters, I know it's very daunting to think about how to create one or how to even get started on one. But I'll definitely tell you, like, once you have a starting point or a template that you created, it'll be easier when you are applying to different positions. And typically, it's going to be like a packet. So the employer is going to ask for a resume and a cover letter together. So definitely make sure you're checking those different things if they are asking for that. I know some positions don't, but typically in the present day, they are going to be asking for cover letters. And again, we'll kind of go over what a cover letter is and how to tailor it and format it. So a cover letter is what it is, a cover letter. And what it does, it kind of takes on a more expansive role of your experiences and kind of break down a little bit more of why you are going to be qualified for the position that you're applying to. So for the cover letter, you're going to take maybe one or two experiences that you have on your resume and kind of expand on that and what you did within that role. So it doesn't need to be verbatim your resume. So you're not going to be listing the same things that you already put in the resume because they already read that, they already have that information. This is going to be expanding on what you couldn't put in the resume, since the resume is only one page and you can kind of only list like your overview of tasks, and kind of bring it back again and showcasing how you'll be valuable to this position and what you can bring and what you can offer. So typically for your cover letter, again, it's going to be formatted as a letter. So you're going to have for the top section, your name, first and last name, your present address. So this is where you will put your address, the city, state, zip code. And then you also want to have the date for the letter. So whenever you're writing the letter, make sure you have the date. So the month, the day, and then the year. And then for typically when you're doing the cover letter, you want to format it to whoever you're sending the letter off to. So you'll have that individual's name, their title, and then the name of the employer or organization that you're applying to, and as well as the street address and address for them. So typically when you're looking for these things, you'll probably find that information for the most part on like the latter part of the job description. It'll probably tell you who to contact or who's over the search for this position. So whoever it is, if they do have a specific contact for their person, list that. If not, then you can say, dear recruiting manager, dear search committee, or if it's in a specific department, if they have like a director or a direct supervisor or someone who's going to be over that department, you can probably search that on the organization's website and find the information that way. And usually they'll have the title of that person, as well as the address that that they use for contacting and things like that. And typically it's going to be broken up into about a couple of paragraphs. Right here for this example, we have about 4 that we kind of go into, but it could range from about 3 to 4, depending on how you kind of write the resume. And it's going to typically be 1 page. In closing, you want to have sincerely, if you are printing out the cover letter, you're going to hand write your signature like with a pen, and then you'll have it typed under that, as well as any closing notes or anything that you're including that will be enclosed in that as well. If not, if you are typically doing it over like the internet and you're submitting it online, it's okay to not have that written out signature, of course. If you do want to include the signature still in Adobe, if you save your cover letter, if you save it as a PDF, you can go in and kind of type in the signature and the ink in that space if you know how to do that. So paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 was going to be your introduction. It's going to be the first part of grabbing the attention of the employer. So this is kind of introducing yourself to the employer, and you're going to state how you found the position. So if you found the position on their website, if you were looking on LinkedIn, if someone told you about the position, if they came to campus for a recruiting event and you learned about the position there, that's where you're going to specify that information. And you're going to provide a brief intro into your candidacy. So basically with that, you're kind of providing a brief overview of your skills or your current position that you're in, and whatever you're working in now that kind of applies to the job. So typically you'll say, hello, my name is Courtney Pelzer. I'm writing to you about whatever position you're writing to. So for example, if I'm writing to a position for like a marketing internship, my name is Courtney Pelzer. I'm writing to you about the marketing intern position with Google, and I found this position on LinkedIn. I'm very excited about it, and you then go in again with the brief intro of your candidacy. So talking about your skills. So you can say, for the last 2 years, I have been a graduate assistant at the Career Center, where I worked with the experiential education team, where I've been able to build up skills on whatever you're going to put in that section for that skill. And again, make sure you're looking at the job description because that kind of tells you what skills you need to list within that. So paragraph 2 is all about them. So this is you demonstrating the understanding of the organization and also showcasing again that you read that job description. Sometimes a lot of people don't do that. They'll just apply to a position and haven't read like what is expected of them when they do get hired for that. So making sure you read that and kind of showcasing that you actually read the description, you actually done some research, you know about the company, you know about what you're going to be doing, and kind of showcasing like why you would be a good fit for that as well too. So a good way to do that, again, is going to the company's website and looking at their mission, their goals, their vision, their products, and kind of demonstrating your knowledge of that, any current things that they're doing. If it's something currently that they've been in the news for, kind of mentioning that if it's positive, and kind of aligning that back to how you would be a good fit for that. So showing how you would be the best person for that position and why they should hire you. So paragraph 3 is your sales pitch. So again, you kind of telling a little bit about the fit of the company as far as their mission, their goals, and why it kind of aligns with who you are as a person, and then going into the sales pitch of addressing your qualifications that are coming from the job description and summarizing your most important things from the resume. So here again is where you're gonna include maybe 1 or 2 experiences from your resume and kind of expand on everything that you did within that role and why it's valuable, why it's important, and again, how that is going to fit into the position that you're applying for. So just help them visualize you within the job. So when you are writing these sentences, kind of tailoring it that way. So for example, on one of my resume for a position that I'm applying to, if they're asking for someone who has experience in presenting, then I'm going to talk about the presentation process that I do within the Career Center and who I present to and what topics I present on and how many students I get to see and the increase of participation that we have gotten within the office from those presentations and going along those lines of that. And then the last paragraph will be your closing paragraph. So this is where you're going to thank the reader or the employer for their time, summarizing again your greatest attributes, your greatest qualities and skills that you talked about before, and then providing a confident action-based statement about your candidacy. So you want to be, again, confident with that. And what that means is if you're going to close out a statement, for a closing statement, you can say something along the lines of, I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to an informational interview in the future or talking to you about next steps. So you don't want to say anything that's not as confident, like, I think I'll be good for this position, or I think I'm the good fit. You don't want to say, I think. You want to be confident, be firm, be action-oriented, and kind of follow up. So if you are hoping for the next steps to be an interview, then you want to say, hopefully we will be able to talk within that aspect. So if you are going to follow up within that, make sure it's confident, action-based, and it, again, summarizing your qualities, your skills, and showcasing that you have done your research on the position, on the organization, and reaffirming like that you're going to be the best fit for this position. So I'm going to go back again to the cover letter. And how these fit and format, again, with that first paragraph, that's the attention seeker. The second paragraph is the interest. The third paragraph is the fit. And the fourth paragraph is your follow-up or your closing. So again, we like to think of the cover letter in the Career Center as a love letter. So you're telling the organization why you love them and why they should love you and why everything is going to work together once you're in that position, and what they can kind of hope for within the future when you are in that position and creating their type of strategic goals that they're looking for. And again, your cover letter should be 1 page and making sure that you have those titles as far as at the top, your name, your address, and then whoever you're addressing the letter to, making sure you have that individual's name. And when you are creating your cover letter, make sure you go back in, reread, check for any spelling errors, any grammar errors, making sure whoever you're addressing the letters to, you're spelling their name correctly. It's good to have someone else, if you have a peer or a friend or a faculty member or someone in a prior internship, making sure they kind of look over your materials to kind of catch things that you don't see when you're looking over these things as well, when you're revising. So making sure all those things are good to go. And again, making sure you read that job description, make sure it tailors and is fit to that. So, sharing the screen, pausing there for questions. Okay, so this question says, do you always need a cover letter or should you only give one if it is asked for? So typically, again, most organizations will ask for a cover letter, but some do not. If they don't ask for a cover letter, it's okay not to include one. If you want to go above and beyond and stand out, I would still provide them with that cover letter. And that just kind of lets them know that you're serious about the position. Again, you read the description and you just kind of showcases that you know you're a good fit and that they should hire you. It kind of shows that you're going above and beyond, if that makes sense. So I would include it even if they don't ask for it. Is there anything you would recommend avoiding in a cover letter? So you definitely don't want to go over a page because, again, employers are not going to spend a lot of time reading this documents or in this information. Typically, for resumes, they're only going to spend about 40 to 60 seconds looking at the resume. And that's, again, to pick out certain things. So your name, your qualifications as far as your education, did you meet the education requirement? And picking out small things within your experiences that they're looking at. And before they even look at it, most of the time it's going through a computer generated technology. So that technology is kind of picking out words that are going to be on that resume before it even moves on to a person sometimes. So just making sure you look at that job description again. I know I'm stressing that a lot, but typically look at the words that they're using and the language that they're using. Whatever language that they're using on as far as the job description that they're posted, that's what you want to include on your resume because that's what they're looking for. And if you don't have that information, then it's more than likely you'll get booted out of the system. But if you are using that, then you'll probably move on to where an actual person is looking at your resume a little bit deeper. And again, that's probably typically going to be 40 to 60 seconds. They'll probably look at it a little bit more in depth and in detail once you are accepted for like an interview and they're prepping for the interview and ask you questions about your resume within the interview. So anything I would say avoiding is not looking at the cover letter and kind of going overboard, making it more than one page, not being specific about what you've done in your role, and not having it structured in the way that it should be structured. So you want to avoid those types of things. And again, you can include 1 to 2 of your experiences and kind of explaining what you did within the role and why it was valuable and how you can utilize that in the position. So that was the last question they had. Okay. And I'm going to showcase some of our resources that we have. So I'm going to share my screen because I thought I could drop the link in the chat, but I'm going to share my screen again and kind of guide you guys to the student toolbox. So right here, make sure. Okay, yeah. Right here is our student toolbox. Well, this is our student services page on the Career Center, and you can just Google this. You can just put in UofSC Career Center, and it'll pop up. Once you go there, there's going to be a tab again that says Student Services. And this just gives an overview of all the services that we offer. So if you need help planning a career and kind of mapping out a career, we help with that as well. We do personality and job assessments that kind of help you if you don't know what you're looking forward to, or if you don't know what you're passionate about or what you want to do within the future. You can take some assessments like the MBTI or the Strong Interest Inventory, and that will help you kind of assess the skills that you have and what you possibly are passionate about and what you possibly could be good at within the future to kind of give you a start within that. We also have experiences where you can gain experience within internships and study abroad, not study abroad, but internship positions within our Carolina internship program, and then also some experiential education programs that we do within Pathways where you can connect with employers. Of course, we do resume and cover letter writing if you book appointments for those, and then we have prep for interviews. So if you wanted to prep for an interview, you can make an appointment with a career coach and have an interview, and they can kind of provide you with tips on that as well. Job search. I know if you guys heard about the Career Center, our job search tool is Handshake, which is very similar to LinkedIn. You can find jobs, internships, and also register for our career fairs and any other events that we're having within the Career Center on that website as well. And then you can explore graduate school options if you want to plan for that. So this right here is our Student Success Toolbox. So if you click on this link, it will bring you to our Trello board, and it breaks down a lot of different things that we have and resources that you guys can have. It has some PDFs and other things that you can print out. So there's a user guide to kind of help you kind of navigate the space within this Trello board and how you can use it as well. Some quick tips on the Career Center and things about career planning and exploration. And then we have some of the career assessments that I talked about, some exploration activities that you can do, some other websites, and how you can gain experiences, and professional documents. So again, you can go in and click on these, and it'll bring you to some of the resume templates that we have within the office, and other things about that can help you within your job search. So this is definitely a great tool to use and utilize and navigate. So when you do have time, go in there in the Trello board and kind of play around and kind of see the resources that we have within that space. And then, okay, there we go. These are some great ways to contact us. Again, careercenter@sc.edu. If you have any questions that you want us to email, you definitely can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's both. All of them are UofSC at Careers. On Twitter and Instagram, we definitely post things about the current events that we're having within the Career Center. So if we're having a career fair, that's going to be listed. Also, we have tips and tricks that we post on Tuesdays to kind of help you with professional development and kind of great ways to make you stand out in the job search process. So those are great ways to contact us. We also have drop-in hours Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and then we have those extended hours that are virtual from 5 to 7 with our career studio career educators, which are our student staff that kind of helps with those drop-ins, typical questions about resumes, cover letters, and things of that nature. And again, you can make appointments. You can come into the office. We are taking in-person appointments. They are limited, but we also offer virtual appointments as well. And once you go into Handshake, it'll let you make that appointment with whoever your career coach is. Your career coach typically is going to be assigned to you by major. And you can look at that on the website as well, too, if you wanted to find out who your specific career coach is as well. So just a little bit more overview of the services that we offer. So I'm going to open the floor again for questions. All right. So if there are no more questions, we're going to end it here. Again, thank you guys for joining us. I hope you learned a lot. If you do have more questions, again, definitely come in and make an appointment or come to those drop-in hours. And we can kind of clear up any discrepancies or any questions that you have as far as resume writing and cover letter writing. But again, thank you all. My name is Courtney Poser. I am a graduate assistant in the Career Center. And that is it. That's all we have for you guys today. Thank you.